With social media as prevalent as it is today, it is surprising to hear how many people actually still believe in so many old wives' tales when it pertains to law enforcement. Let's debunk 5 of the most common myths people still believe about cops. Hey guys, what's going on? I am so excited to be back. Guys, I've had so much stuff going on in my personal life. I'm staying in a new place right now, so I was trying to get everything situated. So finally, I can put out a new video for you. So over the course of running this channel for over 2 years now, people tend to ask me a lot of the same questions over and over again. And a lot of the questions that people ask have to do with the myths that surround law enforcement. So let's jump straight into it, and I'm going to debunk the 5 most popular myths that people believe. Myth number 1, radar inaccuracy used as a defense in court. While it might be true that there are some discrepancies when it comes to speed detection devices, notably radar, going into court and trying to prove your case to a judge using old cases that have to do with radar inaccuracy is probably not going to get you very far. And I personally have also had people that went into court and said that their speedometer did not match the speed that the officer clocked them at. And the judge immediately followed up their statement with the fact that maybe they should get it checked out by a mechanic and found them guilty. Now in Georgia, city and county officers or sheriff's deputies are required to perform an accuracy check on their radar device at the beginning and end of every one of their shifts if they are stopping people for speeding. But they are also supposed to offer an accuracy check on the traffic stop itself. The only exemption to this would be the State Patrol. Georgia State Patrol does not have to offer an accuracy check on the roadside. Now whatever you do not go into court confusing an accuracy check with calibration. Accuracy checks on a radar device can be performed by the officer themselves, and calibration is a yearly thing that's done by a certified technician. But in order to find out when the last calibration was done on the radar device, you're probably going to want to hire an attorney that can get those records. Myth number 2, saying that you are going with the flow of traffic will get you out of a citation. One of the biggest mistakes anybody can make going in front of a judge in a courtroom is saying that they only performed that violation because everybody else was doing it. Another very common excuse when it comes to speeding is that they were just trying to pass somebody that was going slow. And of course, the first thing the judge is going to tell you that passing somebody does not just entitle you to be able to speed. Another question cops are asked a lot is, why did you go after me if there were so many other people doing the same exact thing? I'm sorry, there's just one of me and there's hundreds of drivers on the road. You just happened to get the short straw today, I'm sorry. Myth number 3, you are more likely to get a ticket at the end of the month due to quotas. Although there still are some departments in the United States that have a minimum ticket requirement for the officers, those departments are very few and far between, and even those departments, that requirement is an extremely low number. Most police departments do not have a quota system in place. I can't speak for every state, but at least in Georgia, it's actually illegal for a department to have a ticket quota. Think about it from this standpoint though. If you are a traffic enforcement officer and your only job is to work accidents and to write citations, how does it look at the end of the month when you only turn in 2 tickets? You're working 5 days a week, 8 hours a day, and at the end of the month you only have 2 tickets? Surely there are more people than that doing something they're not supposed to on the roadway. It just looks like you're not doing your job, and it could affect your performance evaluation at the end of the year. Now, officers that write a lot of tickets usually fall into 2 separate categories. Number 1, that's their job. They're traffic enforcement. That is purely their job. They don't respond to calls, they don't work cases. All they do is write citations and work motor vehicle collisions. The other group are officers that just enjoy getting out there writing citations because sometimes it leads to bigger things. Sometimes they find large amounts of drugs, sometimes they find people with warrants. They just enjoy making traffic stops. So if you feel the need to tell an officer on the side of the road that you are only being stopped because they are trying to meet their quota, you are probably going to be met with extreme laughter as well as a citation. Myth number 4, it is illegal to drive barefoot. As far as I know, there is no law in the United States forbidding anybody from driving barefoot in a vehicle. Now, in Alabama, I think Alabama has a law where you can't drive barefoot on a motorcycle. But outside of that, I am unaware of any laws about being barefoot and driving. Myth number 5, and this is the last one, tickets are automatically dropped if the officer does not show up for court. Now this is a bit of a tricky one because this can vary from state to state or even from jurisdiction to jurisdiction within the state. Usually in our court system, if the officer does not show up for court, the case is continued. Now, a lot of people don't agree with this. They're like, well, if I didn't show up for court, I'd either have a suspended license or I'd have a warrant issued for my arrest. technically the courts are supposed to fine the officers, at least where I'm at, $300 for not showing up for court. But another thing to keep in mind is usually the first time you go to court, that is for what's called the arraignment. So that's basically where you put in your guilty plea and you try to work something out with the judge, or you plead not guilty and you have to come back for your trial date. The trial date is where the officer is supposed to show up for court, not the arraignment. So basically, most of the time, the officer doesn't have to show up until you plead not guilty and you actually want to hear your case, and then the judge is going to ask the officer their side of the story. But even if your trial date comes and the officer does not show up, that does not automatically mean that you are going to just have your ticket dismissed. A lot of times they will continue the case, try to give the officer another chance to get back to work. Maybe they work night shift or something and they're asleep during court, and they'll try to give the officer, try to afford them another opportunity to get into court. Now, I have seen times where the officer has not shown up for court 2 or 3 times, and the case does get dismissed. So if the officer's just not going to show up and they don't care, a lot of times the judge will just drop it. But that is kind of a myth though, because it's not always true, especially the first time or two. So don't necessarily think you're going to be off the hook because you don't see your officer show up when you've been sitting there for 2 or 3 hours in the stands. At the end of the day, it's just going to be up to that individual judge on whether they want to continue the case or just go ahead and dismiss it and be done with it. Anyway, guys, that is it for today. Those are the top 5 police myths that we have debunked. Thank you so much for joining me. I've been doing a lot more live streams lately. I'm sure you guys have seen those. I'm also going to be doing more live streams for my Patreon subscribers and YouTube members. So if you're not a member, click the little blue join button below the video and join us. Join us for a private chat. A lot of times we'll hop into voice chat on Discord afterward and kind of have a one-on-one with you guys. I'm trying to do more one-on-one interaction with you guys. So yeah, sign up today. I'm also going to be offering some more perks for you guys. Actually, just a little while ago, I asked some of the paid subscribers what they want as more of an incentive in this Patreon program. So if you're interested, join today, help support me, help support the channel. I would greatly appreciate it, and I'd like to talk one-on-one with you. Anyway, guys, that's it for today. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comment section below, and I'll try to address them accordingly. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you guys enjoyed a little bit more light. Hopefully from now on, there'll be a little bit more light in my videos. But either way, thanks for joining me, guys. I hope you have a fantastic weekend, and I will see you guys very, very soon.